Derek Sheridan from Rust Belt Basketball Coaches Network. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. We have a lively crew where we're going to talk about our thoughts regarding the NCAA tournament. And we're going to start off with Brian Vorst, the legendary high school basketball coach from Rossford High School. And Brian and I have one of the many things we have in common. We were both journeymen. We've coached at a lot of different places and taught in a lot of different places. And Brian has just received the Retired Coach of the Year award from District 7 Basketball Coaches Association. So congratulations, Brian, for earning that award. And Brian's son, Derek, is a player at Indiana State University on full scholarship. So, Brian, let's start off before we get into the NCAA tournament talk about what it's like to have a son who's playing at the NCAA Division I level.
Well, it's actually pretty amazing. First of all, Derek, thanks for having me on, and I think you got an award Sunday too that you certainly deserve. So it was great to see you there and see all the guys there. But the district does a great job. The leadership does a great job with that All-Star Game and awards, and I want to thank them too. But thank you for the recognition and having me on. It's really neat having a kid play college basketball. I mean, at any level, it's incredible when you think about how many high school players there are out there and how good you have to be at the college level. For him to play at Indiana State it's been great. His freshman year, they got beat in the NIT finals, I think by Seton Hall. But the experience that he's getting is remarkable. The places he's gone, the teams he's played against. And as a father, it was fun for me because having gotten out of coaching, coaching him while he was playing, I didn't get to be a fan. I didn't get to be dad. I had to be coach the whole time. And over the last 3 years, I've learned to be a fan and just go enjoy the games and just sit back and, go through the good times and talking through the bad times and help him grow and help him mature and become a young man, which he's doing. And I'm really proud of him for that.
Derek's had a lot of good games, one of them being against Northern Iowa, which is traditionally a very good defensive team. He also played very well against Drake, and he had a great game against Illinois State, Brian Pedon's squad.
Yeah, he's had good games against those. It's amazing how good the coaches are at that level. They find the smallest thing and find a way to exploit it. And against those teams, those are teams that handle pick and rolls because they play a lot of pick and roll action. He runs a lot of triggered action. They just, they find that little bit of weakness in there and go after it. And, those are just games that he was fortunate enough that his number was called and he was able to put the ball in the hole and played well. Played a lot of confidence in those games. It's really funny listening to him beforehand because he'll call me the day before or 2 days before and say, like, Dad, they handle us this way. I think I'm going to get a bunch of shots this week. I think I'm going to have a chance to get some baskets. So I always thought that I was a relatively smart coach growing up and coming through the ranks, and I did it for 30 years. So I know I learned something along the way. But going and watching these college coaches and watching them at an intimate level at practice and the things they say and the things they do, I literally feel like a junior high coach going in and watching them. They're so smart and they're so detail oriented. It's just amazing to me. I just sit back and I'm in awe of these college coaches.
Yeah, I think there's also a lot to be said for having a full-time staff whose job is to make you look good.
Yeah. Well, that always helps. I was always lucky too. I had a great staff, so I can relate to that. Our preparation and our scouting was second to none, in my opinion. You and I talked a lot, and we helped each other a lot, and the staff is so important. But you're right, having full-time guys and having all the video and stuff like that is amazing. But the way they relay it to the kids is what's remarkable to me.
Yes, and one of the best I ever saw at relating a scouting report to kids was Brooks Miller when he was at Trine. Yeah, he was amazing. It was a classroom setting, and the kids were pretty much just it was like being in a social studies classroom.
Yeah, he has a great history of that, and he's had great success with that. You can tell just talking to him that he's going to captivate anybody that's in any room that he's in. I think he's only begun his climb to where he's going to end up.
Oh, I 100% agree. He's got everything. He's got the charisma, he's got the content knowledge, and he's got that Northwest Ohio work ethic. It's almost like he's from Kalida.
I agree. Almost. He's too skinny to be from Kalida. That's the problem. You don't have that middle section that weighs us down.
Yeah. Tell us about Derek's experiences. I mean, I know you've talked about the coaching, and he's been injured so much.
Well, his history, he grew so fast coming out of junior high. In his freshman year in high school, he actually tore his patella tendon. He still has a tear in his patella tendon, and he's just trying to learn and try to figure out how to manage that over the course of a college career, because I don't think that people realize how intense the college training regimen is. I mean, he probably spends 6 hours a day in the gym area in some fashion, whether it's film, on the floor with individuals, as the group in the training room. He's 6 to 8 hours a day, every day in there. But that's been a challenge for me as his dad, to keep him moving forward and say, listen, maybe you need to back off a little bit. Maybe you need to talk to coach. At that age, they have to advocate for themselves. I can't call and say, hey, listen, he's sore, he needs a day off. He's got to work through that himself, and just trying to keep his head up, because, this year he's had some crazy injuries. All the kids have their sprained ankles and stuff like that. But like, he kind of got undercut in the game and ended up getting a bone bruise on his hip, and he was out for a little bit. And then another game, he took an elbow to the temple and ended up developing a concussion like a day or two later, which was really weird. It's one of those late onset concussions, that kept him out for a while. And it's just every time he started playing well, and was feeling confident and good about himself and really ready to take on a leadership role, something goofy would happen. And just trying to talk him through that and say, listen, this all happens for a reason. You're here for a reason. These injuries happen for a reason. It's going to be okay. Just work through them. And he had to learn to actually work through an injury, where as a high school athlete, our kids, we say, let's work through it. But at that college level, no, they really mean you work through this. You're going to be okay. And they push him really hard. And he had to learn that. And he's learned that over the last year and a half. He struggled with it as a freshman. But this later on, his junior year, he's really, really figured that out. The difference, we all say the difference between being injured and being hurt. And, he's learning that. He's figuring that out. He's a relatively tough kid, but he sometimes being hurt just gets old.
Mm-hmm. Sure. And all those nagging injuries, they just stay with you, and it just seems like they compile. And once one thing hurts, or one part of your body hurts, and the next part, it's a chain reaction. I had to deal with it.
Yeah.
Every college athlete has to deal with it.
He's, in those nagging injuries, especially those lower joint injuries, those lower body injuries, when you're 6'10", 6'11", 250, 255, it's a lot different than being 6'5", 6'6", 210. It just wears differently on your body.
Yes.
And like he and I just talked about it the other day about, how good he was feeling. And then we had a situation where the other two posts were hurt. Well, that meant all of a sudden, like against the Illinois State game, I think he played 42 minutes in that game or something. And, his body is just not ready for that. He's a 24 to 26, 28 minute kid a game, or a minute a game kid. And that 42 minute, that really adds up.
Oh, absolutely. Tell us about his NIL deal with Orange Crush.
I'm Derek Vorst, and I teamed up with Crush.
Orange. Grape. Strawberry. Peach.
The Crush, the Crush commercial, which was kind of cool. He enjoyed doing it. He had to go through a whole shoot. It took a few hours to do. He's got a couple different ones that have been on social media. But he got introduced to a whole different world there. That's not what he's used to doing. I mean, we used to do the green screen stuff like everybody does in high school, but this was entirely different. Like, he went to a studio and they were telling him what to do, and they eventually took him outside. I mean, those shots that he was doing were actually outside. That was not on a green screen. But it's just amazing that the kids today are getting paid, the kind of money that they are, and good for them. I mean, those kids are not getting, an opportunity to work. It is a job. Playing basketball and playing any sport at the college level is truly a job. Whether you're D3 or D1, it's a job, and they should be getting something for it. Now, should they be getting $3.5 million for it? Yeah, I don't know, but that's not for me to decide. I can tell you as a dad, it's been nice because over the last 3 years, he's never once had to ask me for money. He's always had money. He's definitely not getting rich doing it, but he's got enough that he's got, gas in his gas tank. If he wants to go to dinner every day, he goes to dinner every day. He buys a new Apple Watch and buys new golf clubs, and he has enough money for that, but he's not being spoiled and pampered. He's not going to come out of college as a prima donna saying, I made all this money and, I'm better than you because of this. He has to work for it, and he's getting paid a nice little chunk of money, but he understands that it's because of the time and the work that he puts in.
As it should be.
Yeah.
Back in 2014 or 2015, I got to speak at a coach's clinic in Missouri at Springfield Catholic High School. And one of the coaches I got to rub shoulders with was one of the coaches from College of the Ozarks, which is NAIA. And
yep.
Back then, they were giving every kid on the basketball team, both men's and women's, $300 a week.
Oh,
and
it's not bad.
Yeah, that was to go to groceries and rent if you wanted to live off campus, whatever. And I thought that was a pretty good deal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Derek, their nickname is Hard Work U. Every student on that campus has to have a job.
Okay.
Have some
is that right?
Job, yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, I've got bad memories of the Ozarks.
Mm-hmm. Was that from when you guys went to the Final Four?
Yep. Went to the Final Four. They made it because they were the host school. First year they had ever hosted it, and a kid hit his first three-pointer of the season on a desperation shot, and he banked it in from the top of the key, and that's how we got beat in the Final Four.
Oh, my gosh.
So.
Well, I guess my question is, did someone close out on him?
Oh, God, that was, how many years ago?
Well, I'm thinking about the Duke UConn game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, if it's his first one, you don't want to close out too hard on him anyways, because you want to keep him in front.
Yeah. I guess thinking about that, I would want to see the statistics. Has he made a free throw all year? Because I might tackle him.
Well, it was one of those situations where someone else had hit a three or missed a three. Oh. It ricocheted off to the corner. They chased it down, and this kid's standing here like, what should I do with it? And finally, he just throws it up and
just chucked it.
The rest is history. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then a few years later, after I had left, Huntington also lost to Ozarks in the national championship game. I can't remember the scenario of that game either, but one of Huntington's assistant coaches, Chase Verba, who was on the team at the time, God, he was telling me something about that game because I was like, well, they were the better team. I mean, they were extremely athletic, but I was thinking he may have said somebody was hurt on Huntington's team at that time. I can't remember who, but yeah, the Ozarks, they had Huntington's number at the worst time of the year for a couple of years there.
They also made a great
At least you got there.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, They also made a great sitcom on Netflix with Jason Bateman.
Oh.
Ozarks,
yeah, was that the college?
Yeah, I don't know a whole lot about television, but my wife and I did enjoy that sitcom. Brian, you haven't seen Ozark?
I've seen Ozark.
Okay,
yeah.
Okay.
I love that show.
Yeah,
I thought it was great. That was one of those binge-worthy shows.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, anything with Jason Bateman, that's usually going to be pretty good.
Well, gentlemen, I got to get going here.
Yes.
I appreciate the time. Derek, thanks again for everything. Let's do this again sometime.
Yeah, absolutely. I will take you up on that. Matter of fact, I'd love to have a podcast with you when we are at Danny's. Yeah, we'll go to Danny's Cafe and have a podcast.
I haven't. Let's do it. I have an inn there. I know people there.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. And Danny's has been a great sponsor for Rust Belt basketball, and Brad Morrison's a great guy.
Yeah.
I played against him in college too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
he was an Oiler with me, buddy.
Absolutely. I
Yes,
still
sir.
know what the bottom of your shoes taste like.
Well, that's because I probably hit you with an elbow and a spin move and then knocked you down. Because I know I wasn't jumping over you.
Well, no one's ever accused me of being able to jump over a dime, but anyway.
Yeah.
My shoes read, ground shared it.
Yeah. Gentlemen, thank you very much. It was good to see everybody.
Brad Morrison and Danny's Cafe, located in beautiful Rossford, Ohio. Danny's Cafe is the ultimate spot for a family-friendly breakfast, lunch, or dinner, or a night out with friends to watch your favorite high school, college, or pro team. Danny's Cafe offers an incredible food experience for people with varying types of palates, and the service is fast and provided by the most hospitable staff in Northwest Ohio. The next time you're on the hunt for a place to grab a bite or cheer on your favorite team, head to Danny's Cafe, located directly across the street from Rossford High School.
Enjoy the rest. I appreciate it.
All right, Brian, we'll talk soon. Hey, and again, congratulations on your District 7 Retired Coach of the Year award. That's a great honor for you and well deserved. If there's anybody in Northwest Ohio who deserves that award, it is most certainly you.
Let me tell you a real quick story about that before I get out of here, before my daughter yells at me. So I told my wife like 2 weeks ago that, hey, if you're not doing anything on the 29th or whatever day it was, I don't even know, I'm going to go to the All-Star game. She goes, what are you going to go to the All-Star game for? I said, well, I'm getting an award. She goes, what award are you getting? And I told her what it was. She thought it was a chance for me to sneak out of the house and probably go drink beer with you, Sheridan.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Anyways, I was giving her all kinds of grief Sunday. I said, look, they even gave me a plaque for it. It's
Absolutely.
a real award, I promise you. So I've been busting her chops on that too. So.
Well, as you should. And by your wife's demeanor around me, I could tell that she had not forgotten.
Oh, buddy. She doesn't forget much. I can tell you that right now.
Because I know my wife can remember every mistake I've made since 1994.
Yes. Yes.
And
I am about 180. I'm about 0 and 186 on stuff. So I'm hoping one day to get my first win.
Oh, I haven't even sniffed it. The last time I thought I had a win, she came back with something that put me back in a fetal position.
Yeah.
All right, Brian. Thank you.
Thanks, Derek. Congratulations to you too. I'll see you guys later.
Yes, sir.
Hey, guys.
Well, Wayno did not get the Zoom link, so I'm going to send it.
Wayno's using dial-up.
Wayno, it's hard to, right now my biggest thing is where is Wayno? Because that's a big question. So I'm going to email this to Wayno again. Ryan Pedon and his Illinois State Redbirds, who have made the Final Four of the NIT. And for those people who might not know Ryan Pedon, there's been few coaches in Northwest Ohio or Central Indiana who have been better to high school basketball coaches than Ryan Pedon. And this is Coach Pedon's first head coaching gig at Illinois State. And he has just completely rebuilt a program that was in shambles and cleaned up all of the mess that he had inherited. And if you're a person who likes watching basketball in its purest form, where there's a lot of screens off the ball and the kids actually guard the ball defensively, and then the four people off of the ball sit in a stance and are up the line, on the line, and when the ball transverses the midline, they jump to the midline, and it looks like they're all Muhammad Ali boxers on that midline. They have boxers' feet, their heels are pumping, and they are just one of those rare college teams right now where when the ball is in the air, their kids run like heck or turn and burn, and their closeouts are 1985-esque. And I can't say enough good things about Ryan Pedon's Redbirds team, but I wanted to definitely give him a shout out on this podcast because we are rooting for him hard as they'll be playing in Hinkle Fieldhouse this weekend for the NIT Final Four. So we'll start off with Coach Ripke. Coach Ripke, what are your thoughts so far on the games you've seen in the NCAA tournament?
Which Coach Ripke?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, great question. Let's go with Ryan Ripke.
Well, as I was kind of thinking about, what we should talk about in this, the one thought that I have had is we're kind of missing the Cinderellas. Um, the one double digit seed that we've had has been Texas. And they're out of the SEC, so I'm just kind of wondering, what they're not really a Cinderella. But
Especially if you
yeah,
ask the folks from Xavier.
yeah, yeah. So, I guess I'm just kind of wondering, where the tournament's going now at this point, because last year we had all one seeds, and this year, what do we have? Do we have 3 1 seeds? Yeah, we have 3 1 seeds and a 2 seed. And so I'm kind of hoping that this isn't the beginning of a trend. But I don't know. Those are kind of my thoughts, just in general, not in any specific form. But what do you guys think?
Definitely a lot of chalk the last 2 years, that's for sure. I about doling back to Coach Pedon, I was fortunate enough to meet him when he was down at Columbus. Yeah, great guy and real astute basketball person, and as like I mentioned, a novel concept watching 5 people move on a pass or a dribble defensively, and heaven forbid screens away from the basketball.
Oh, absolutely. And the other thing I love about RP's teams is how quickly, and there's no doubt about it, they are most certainly a half court team. And I don't think anyone would ever argue with that. But being a half court team, how quickly they convert from defense to offense and try to ring the bell in a fast-paced conversion from defense to offense is another thing that's fun to watch. And
Yeah.
maybe to put a little bit more hot sauce on that statement is without the world's best athletes.
Gotcha. Yeah. There's always looking for a numerical advantage. If you can get out there and get a numerical advantage, attack.
Oh, absolutely. My teams were never known for rather fast tempo of play, but we still tried to get down the court and see if we could ring the bell early. And sometimes early for us was 3 minutes with the ball. But
I'll attest to that.
so, Matt, what's your thoughts?
Kind of like Ryan said, the missing Cinderella is I don't know what to say disappointing, but it's I will say, so last week in the regional games I thought were some of the best games that I've seen in the tournament. I know the first weekend is always exciting when you got basketball from 11 a.m. to after midnight. Enjoy those days, but the regional round seems to be where the cream rises to the top, and some great games with those regional semis and regional finals. Those are the ones that I really enjoyed watching the most.
Yeah, I'll go back to Ryan and his comment regarding the Cinderellas. Do you think the NIL and the transfer portal have affected the ability for, let's say, a Siena who almost knocked off Duke in the opening round? Personally, I do believe the NIL and the transfer portal has dramatically impacted the quote unquote mid-major basketball teams.
Yeah, I kind of think that it has too, and you talk about, I mean, the MAC, not the East Coast MAC, but our Midwest MAC, they had 2 teams in it this year, and Miami had this amazing regular season, and you're kind of hoping maybe some good things to come out of there, and then Akron gets a bid, and so you're just kind of like waiting to see, okay, which MAC team is going to be the Cinderella, and really neither of them did, and I kind of had Akron being that team that was going to shock everybody and make it to the Sweet 16, and they had that early exit, and so it was kind of, for me as a fan of the tournament, it was kind of a disappointment.
Well, you look at the MAC by and large, and you're basically looking at now feeder teams for, Ball State's a great example of Michael Lewis. When he was the head coach at Ball State, he was one of the first MAC coaches to come out and say, I didn't take this job to develop players to leave.
Yeah, I'm with you, Derek, on that NIL and Ryan. I'm the NIL and the transfer portal. I think the rich get richer out of that, be it football or basketball. It's tougher. It's tougher and tougher to. What's nice is the old Butler teams, when they were there for 4 years, and those teams blended and matured. You don't see too many of those anymore, unfortunately. I'm a dinosaur that I don't mind being a dinosaur, to be quite honest.
Sure. And you look at Purdue, and one of the things about Purdue, people can say whatever they want to say about Purdue being who they are, an engineering school, whatever. But Matt Painter has this knack for getting kids to stay and also recruiting Indiana kids who didn't get a lot of other Division I offers. When you look at, Braden Smith, who had one Division I offer, Purdue, and
Kaufman Wren
from Silver Creek High School. I'm not sure that he got many other Division I offers, but that's a unique, rare air right now, where if you're a big time Division I coach and you can get kids to stay for 4 years and develop them, that's a big deal for people who like traditional college athletics.
For an athlete, few things are worse than having to compete on a slick surface. Well, my friends Tom Rose and Matt Olin have solved this conundrum by creating Grip Spritz. Grip Spritz offers a wide array of shoe-to-court traction products that are not only highly effective, but also affordable, easy to use, and easy to transport. It's no wonder Grip Spritz has become the official traction solution for the Ohio High School Basketball Coaches Association and the National High School Basketball Coaches Association. Take it from me, if the OHSBCA and the NHSBCA are making Grip Spritz their official court cleaning product, Grip Spritz simply has to be the best on the market.
Yeah, they were a fun team to watch, that's for sure. And the other big kid they had, the bearded big kid, and when Kaufman Wren drew so much attention, Clough just made a living on doing the dirty work. He had moves to be able to score the ball in the post, but he also worked his tail off rebounding the basketball as well. And he brought up Braden Smith. He was fun. I mean, all-time leading assist in NCAA. Tournament. Again, fun to watch and distribute the basketball. Lawyer shot it, I thought, really well from the perimeter as well. And that Purdue team was a team of veterans, kind of heartbreaking to see them bow out before making it to the Final Four.
Yeah, that's another great point. Fletcher Lawyer, where else did he get recruited, I wonder? I never heard that he was a highly touted player at the big-time Division I level. But, you put a kid like that in the right system, and
I was fortunate enough to know his dad, John, way back when in Cincinnati team camp days, and John was unbelievable at what a great person he was, and you could see a lot of Fletcher's game evolve from what John had taught him throughout the years, I'm sure.
Yeah, because he started off in the state of Michigan.
Yeah.
And then ended up at New Haven High School?
I believe it was New Haven, yeah. Yep, that's unbelievable basketball though over there. When I was at Defiance College, Coach Cutter had me go over and recruit in Fort Wayne and New Haven and so on and so forth, and a lot of really great high school basketball there.
Yeah, Northeast Indiana is fantastic. You got Angola, that Northeast 8 now with Huntington North and Carroll, and it's just a Leo. Those are just great basketball hotbeds.
Well, and with the NECC that Angola's in, Westview, they finally made their trip back to Indianapolis after winning back-to-back state titles in the early 2000s. So that was neat to see them.
Yeah, it's always neat to see Amish kids win. They need love too.
They took Indianapolis by storm, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm. Man, they take it serious at Westview. That's one of those places where they don't have a lot of room for forgiveness. If you don't have a good year, you're gone.
Well, and I just remember I didn't make a whole bunch of trips up to Westview when I was at Huntington, but the couple that I did they were an experience. You talk about, obviously the gyms are big and they're full, and about the top third were all navy blue. And those aren't Westview's colors. But they were all Amish, and I'm telling you what, they were loud. Westview would go on runs, and it was neat. The atmosphere was awesome.
Absolutely. You got Westview, you got Lakeland, who Coach Snyder at Lakeland has done a great job there of getting that school back on the map from when Coach Cirque had passed away from cancer. He's done a fantastic job. So going back to the NCAA tournament, Wayno, what's your thoughts?
As these guys mentioned, outstanding ball, and especially in the regional finals. And as Matt brought up, that first weekend when you get to watch 12 straight hours of basketball, that's a dream come true right there. Feel really bad. I'm not a Duke fan per se, but I feel really bad for the kid that I know all of us have said 1,000 times to our players, don't jump in the air and pass the ball over the top. And here's one of the best players in the country doing that, which led to their demise after an unbelievable shot by the freshman.
Yeah,
So,
Mullins, right. Yeah, it's an interesting paradigm because there's a lot of different ways to look at that. And I'm kind of leaning towards the not closing out on him and just standing there and watching him shoot it. To me, that was I had to go get some Rolaids. That gave me heartburn. You're playing for a chance to go to the Final Four, and you just watch Mullins, who's one of the best 3-point shooters in the game, and you don't close out on him.
Yeah, at 35, but I'm sure they were unaware that it was 3-2-1. But yeah, they definitely should have been closing out for sure.
Well, and here's the other thing. If that happens in any game between the months of November and February, he probably airballs it. But because it was March, as soon as that ball was tipped, it was like I could see that I knew exactly what was going to happen. He was going to drain it, and they were going to get beat.
That's 2 years in a row. They had a tough beat last year. I think that was in the semifinal, I believe. I can't remember for sure, but when they had that press bother them at the end, they had the game won, I thought, last year also. That's two tough beats in a row for John Shire's teams.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to say the thing I liked the most about that situation was it created a teaching moment for us.
Absolutely.
And kids at school that we're watching big time Division I basketball, Duke, that are, those guys are more athletic in their pinky than we've got in our entire, conference. But the fact that we stress making this simple fundamental play, and he tried to make that jump pass and it got tipped, and that's guys are understanding, man. That's why we do full court zigzag passing 3 out of 4 practices every week to understand to get those build those habits to be fundamentally sound when those situations come. It's not something you have to think about. It just becomes automatic.
Yes. And the other thing that since you said that really comes to my mind is the time spent during your practices on special situation scenarios. For example, you've got the ball in that scenario, turtle up, pivot, and get to the foul line.
Yep. 10 seconds. I don't know if it was like 10.2 or I can't remember. Can't remember, but basically they didn't even have to get the ball over half court.
Yeah, they're going to foul you. So tell me what you guys think about this new scenario. This has been blown up in the media. So I didn't think that Danny Hurley headbutted the official. At
You know,
the
I
end of
read
the
about that. I read about that, and I did not notice. I was watching. I did not notice it till I read about it afterwards.
Yeah, I didn't know anything about it either until I saw it on social media. But then I saw a story where I thought the official had said no, he didn't. There wasn't anything between us.
Yeah, I
So
posted that on the Rust Belt channel on
okay.
Facebook.
Yeah.
I didn't think he headbutted the official either. Did you, Matt?
No, no. And again, as intense as he is in that moment, and you know, the relationship that those college coaches have with officials, about like the same relationship that Wayno had with officials. Yeah,
Yeah,
they're the guys that they're the guys that you get along with, and you go back and forth, and they work hard, and you appreciate them working hard. And when something good happens, or I think it was just that kind of reaction, because that was after the fact. It was, he said something, I said something, that was it. It was kind of between the two of them that had a long working relationship. That, again, the media wants to make a big deal out of what was nothing.
exactly. Anything to get clicks. I know going to Holgate, and you'd walk in from a non-conference perspective, and all the officials' last names were Wayne.
They were always well fed and well drank too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The thing I could never get over was before the varsity game, they were always in the concession stand making the popcorn.
You sound like Rabbit now.
Yeah. Well, I remember our first time playing against Wayno's team, the three officials walked over to me and said, "You understand that you have an uphill battle." I said, "Yes, I had a pretty good idea of that on the bus ride."
You know, what I always appreciated, it was 7-against-5, when you came to Holgate. And then when they added that third one, I felt better when it was 8-against-5.
Absolutely. That's why we had that glorious hospitality room at Maumee.
Oh my! I remember I missed the JV game when I was
Yep.
at Napoleon, and
Yeah, Wayno came in. I said, "Keep bringing him wings. Whatever it takes to get him sleepy."
It worked.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but I know there was no shortage of mashed potatoes when Wayno came in. Anything to increase his sleepiness.
They didn't take home doggy bags from your room after that.
Well, I'm going to relay that to the new coach. Maybe that's a good idea.
There we go.
So, looking at the Final Four, who did you guys have initially in your brackets to win?
I had Arizona the whole way.
So you're still in the game.
Yeah, I had Arizona. I thought they just do a lot of things really, really well. And as I think it was, I can't remember, it was Matt or Ryan, you guys mentioned about that Clough, or maybe it was you, Derek. Oh my goodness, I was so impressed with him.
Yeah,
He just went after every rebound. He just had a nose for the ball, and he didn't look the most athletic, but he was one of the best players on the court, I thought.
exactly. His hands are always up. You never
Yep.
see Clough's hands down. Matt, who do you have? Who do you have winning it all, or who did
As
you
much
have?
as much as it hurts as a Buckeye fan, I still have Michigan. I
Okay.
just that the big guy that protects the rim for them defensively. I think he creates a lot of problems. Their point guard is a great distributor, and they got guys on the perimeter that can catch and shoot. And then Lundeberg, he's a freak athlete. I mean, he can do stuff on the perimeter. He can take guys to the basket. He can sit down the post if need be. So, and then the pace that they play with is unbelievable. As quick as they get out in transition and allow their defense to get them into their transition offense. So I had Michigan all the way, and they're still alive. I think, to be honest with you, I think that's going to be the best game. That Michigan Arizona game from a blue blood standpoint and big time college basketball. There's going to be 10 super athletes on the floor all the time, and that's going to be a fun game to watch.
Yes, Ryan.
Yeah, I had Arizona because I just I couldn't do it. I couldn't pick Michigan, but I do have that Arizona Michigan game in the Final Four, and I'll probably be wrong, but I feel like that's probably going to be the national championship game right there. The other two regions were a little bit tougher. I know that Duke was kind of banged up a little bit going into the tournament, and so I kind of felt like maybe this was Pitino's chance. So I had St. John's, and then coming into the tournament, I think Florida was probably playing the best basketball in the entire country, and so I had them in the Final Four as well. And so Duke and St. John's and Florida burned me on the other two regions.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree with Matt. I mean, Michigan just has so many pieces to the puzzle. I thought they might be a little bit of trouble when the big kid underneath got two quick fouls, but they were able to work their way through that, and he didn't get in deep foul trouble as the rim protector. But yeah, Michigan, yeah, I agree that Michigan-Arizona game is that's going to be phenomenal to watch.
It's going to be a good one for sure.
Well, and when Michigan and Duke played late in the season, I walked away from that game, even though Duke won that game. I walked away from that going, Michigan's my favorite, because let's say they meet up in the tournament, Duke's got to do that again. You know, they got to beat them again. And every time I've seen Michigan, I think they've impressed me more and more.
That makes sense.
I'm with you a little bit, Ryan, on I thought St. John's, I thought Pitino might be able to do it this year with, as you mentioned, with Duke being a little bit banged up. I thought this could be the Johnny's year, but they didn't quite get her done.
Well, sure enough, the Foster kid comes back and is healthy for the St. John's game. And as soon as I heard that, I was like, oh, crap.
Yeah.
Well, I had St. John's versus Arkansas for the national championship. And the rationale behind that was you've got the only two teams who press. And I thought, well, of course, Pitino's press is second to none. And, you know, Paul, you watch those kids who the ball gets by them and they make that banana sprint to cut the ball off instead of running at the ball.
Yeah.
Which is rare now. So I wanted to see The Godfather Part 4. And I was also envisioning Calipari versus Pitino. And with this economy, that could have driven the stock of pasta up. But I thought, going into it, I thought these are the two teams who put pressure on the ball and go out and press. And I put all my marbles on that, which I was wrong, but I do still think that you get a couple bounces here or there, it could have happened, but that's also like saying an Eskimo likes going to Florida.
Yeah, you need luck along the way. There's no question about it. And there's fortuitous bounce of the ball like they had at the end of the Duke game there. I mean, yeah.
Well, I loved the sideline out of bounds play that Coach Pitino ran versus Kansas, where they emptied out the side of the floor, and he put the one kid who hadn't scored the entire game as the safety valve, and the safety valve quickly became the money pit.
Mm-hmm.
But that's something you would expect from Coach Pitino. I'm personally a huge Pitino fan. I would love to see a practice. I'd love to see a Rick Pitino practice. I think he holds his kids accountable. I think they probably play hard in practice. There's probably not a whole lot of time off as far as downtime, I mean, in their practices. But I always have been. I thought his Kentucky teams with Richie Farmer, Pelfrey, those guys in the late 90s when they were on probation, just coming off of probation and nobody wanted to go to Kentucky. And he went to the championship game, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that was one of my favorites. Before we get off here, I do want to mention a couple things. That if people have not seen Gannon play, they're playing for a Division II national championship, which is coming up this weekend. And man, take a look at Gannon play. They are so fundamental. My goodness. It's a great team to watch if you're a purist. They have that unique, what I call the Jack Edison effect from being from Indiana, where if they get you in a half court game, they're going to grind you, but they will also play baseline to baseline faster than darn near anybody, which was Jack Edison's teams at Plymouth High School in Indiana, where in a half court game, they're going to pass the ball without a shot clock until they get what they want. But at the same time, off of a defensive rebound, they're going to rocket the thing down the court, and their conversion offense was just as good, if not better, than anybody's, but they were never known for that. The second thing I want to mention is
if you're looking for an easy and affordable way to purchase all of your sporting good needs, look no further than Game One, located in Swanton, Ohio. I've worked with LJ Archambault for 20 years, and I have never worked with a more honest, punctual, and detail-oriented sporting goods salesman. I coached for nearly 3 decades and in 2 different states, and have never worked with a better organization than Game One, and more importantly, a better person than LJ Archambault. It's always game on at Game One.
Matt Makerzak, who has had all the success at Northern Michigan University, and anyone who follows GLIAC basketball, and Wayno would be in heaven coaching in the GLIAC, where it is the most physical. I've stood by this for years. It is the most physical league in college basketball. People say, yeah, it's Division II. Who cares? Who cares? It is the most physical league in college basketball. From everything I've seen, they just beat each other to death. And Coach Makerzak's system of set play offense, what he calls layered set plays, and his lockdown left defense is he's just had a ton of success at Northern Michigan. And people have to understand that if you're recruiting a kid to go to Marquette, Michigan, which is right in the middle of the Upper Peninsula on the upper side, you will not see the sun from October 30th until May. And once you get into November, I'll say November 15th, having lived in the UP and played college basketball in the west side of the UP, the amount of snow you get, you don't have roads, you have tunnels. And him being able to win that way at Northern Michigan has been fantastic. And he just took the Northern Illinois job. So this will be his first Division I program. And it's going to be a perfect fit because Northern Illinois up there. Now, is it Marquette, Michigan? No. But do they get snow? Yeah. He's gonna be successful there. Take it to the bank. And then Coach McDonald from Damon, who has had 3 straight undefeated seasons in the regular season at Damon University in just outside of Buffalo, New York, at Division II level. He just today took the St. Bonaventure job. And for basketball purists who like to see screening off the ball, and like to see kids sitting in a stance off the ball defensively, this is a guy you want to follow. You know, as years go by, people forget, and I'm guilty of that as well, but people forgot that Coach McDonald was Coach Beeline's #1 assistant at 2 different universities. So he has the Jim Beeline system down to a science. Watching Coach McDonald's teams is a lot like watching Coach Beeline's, I would say, more West Virginia teams, where they were more reliant on the system, more so than Michigan, because at Michigan, you can get any athlete you want. And I thought his West Virginia teams maybe executed a little bit better than they did it.
Not do anything right for 25 seconds and then say, beat them.
Exactly. Well, it's Wayne Brooks, who's Rust Belt staffer. He was a Division I assistant coach at some of the, way out east. He was been damn near every university out east as in the #1 assistant. And he told me one of the things that he picked up going from the high school level out to being a Division I assistant was there was a lot to be said for go get the ball, go get it. Because if someone tries to block you out, just jump over them. And 2, offensively, and now we know you and I, this is going back to, I mean, Coach Brooks left NCAA to take a high school job in Indiana in the mid 90s. And that was back when if you had a stud, your favorite numbers were 1-4, 1-4 low.
Yeah, yeah. I hear that.
Which I'm a huge proponent of 1-4 low. I don't know why. And again, I'm going to sound like I'm trying to critique people. I'm not. It's not rhetorical. It is an actual question. I don't know if you've got a great guard in St. Joseph's with Coach Martelli was a brilliant at this with that great guard he had that took him to all the way. They went to the Final Four, right?
Yep. Yep.
I can't remember the guard's name, but he was a great proponent of 1-4 low. Why would you want to send a ball screener up?
I could never figure out why you want to put an extra defender out there.
Right, for the 1-4 low.
Yeah. We like to put a shooter on each block and the bigs in the corners.
Yep.
And then the right block would go out to the left corner off a screen, and the left block go out the right corner off a screen. So you got action all over the place. And if they help from the inside out, you got your bigs then able for a dump down or a kick out. And plus you got your best player one-on-one. I had some good guards, thank heavens, that made me look halfway smart, and we got a lot of mileage out of that.
Yeah, my high school coach was a huge proponent of 1-4 low. My junior college coach was masterful at teaching different 1-4 low. Coach Platt, my 2 years with him, was a great 1-4 low coach. But Coach Painter, some of the things he's done with his 1-4 low with Smith, I thought were really innovative.
Yeah.
Especially with the way they would lift one block and just kind of dribble drive-esque, which I never kind of caught on to that concept because you have to dribble the ball to drive it. So that was always a head scratcher for me. No offense to the dribble drive people out there, but it's not like, don't get me started.
We're too much alike, Derek.
One of the other things I did see in the tournament that I really, really liked, I really liked watching the team go back to the first round. Siena, Coach McNamara. I loved watching his putting two screeners on one side of the court and having his best shooter with those two screeners and just playing tag.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, when you got a point guard like he had at Siena, who, you want to come out and guard me tight, then you've got one side of the floor now that's emptied out because the other shooter's in the dead corner on that side, on the ball side, where he can just take you to the ropes. I thought that was a great coaching job. And, whenever you're at Siena and you can take Duke to the task, you're probably a pretty good coach, especially when you only play 5 guys that game.
Yeah. Yeah. They were fun to watch. And we can go back and get Matt Ripke's team over there with those Virginia. Talk about screens and curls, and he gives you nightmares from Monday to Thursday trying to figure out how to guard him.
Yeah, we had Matt on after he upset Archbold.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great win. That's no matter how you slice it or dice it, that's a great win. It's a fantastic win. I think
the times you played against Holgate where you'd go 1-4 low after you ran your motion offense for 4 minutes and 25 seconds.
We were trying to take the legs out from under you.
Yeah. And Lee Brubaker going 1-4 low with Big E and a couple shooters in the corner. Made some tough defensive assignments, that's for sure.
Yeah, whenever we had to play against Paul's teams, I was never an advocate, even in our zone. People would say put an inordinate amount of kids in a shell drill, so your zone has to go. It's just too many feet out there for a kid to roll an ankle over. So we were primarily always 5-on-5. But when we had to prepare for Wayno, we would take the one shooter we had, and we would put 2 people on him because this is what you're going to feel like. It's going to feel like you have 2 people guarding you. And
We tried to know who could do what and exactly where they could do it from. And
Well, I would disagree with the fact that you say try. I would say you're more of an American than an Americant.
I was really fortunate enough, I was there long enough. They kind of bought into the system, and what is nice, I mean, all you guys, Ryan, Matt, Derek, all you guys, you can teach the game, but I was able to have people be able to process it and then apply it out there on the court, and that's the hardest part is applying it. You can teach it during the week and then you process what you've been taught, and then you have to go out there and get her done in front of a big crowd. So
Yep.
I was very fortunate throughout my days.
Well, you know what? That's still all you, man. You built that thing, and it was a high functioning engine.
Thank you kindly.
My high school coach used to say, if you don't know what you're supposed to do on offense, ask the guy guarding you from Holgate. He'll tell you where you're supposed to go.
Yeah, right. That's a
Mr.
great point.
Mr.
Yep.
Fett,
Coach Fett, yeah.
Coach Fett. He was a dandy. I
Yep.
brought him over hoping to play a little bit of that 1-2-2 zone, and he wouldn't play it. I wanted to bring him over because I wanted to diversify a little bit, and he said, "Nope, stick with your man-to-man."
He only played 1-2-2 because we didn't have the personnel to play man-to-man.
and Matt played his tail off. Matt was like that Clef boy from. He was a go-getter.
As he is as a coach.
Yes, sir.
Well, when I got the head basketball coach at Delta job, but one of the kids one day said, Coach Ripke said you played at Huntington too. I said, yeah. Coach Ripke was a freshman when I was a fifth-year senior. And the kid said, well, he says he's not very good. I said, well, yeah, there's a lot of people who thought Hitler was a nice guy too. But I said, here's the thing about Ryan Ripke or Coach Ripke that you guys, that he would never say. When Coach Ripke was a freshman, now granted, I'm a fifth-year senior, and our season had ended, so I'm gone. But I still went to all the open gyms, and Coach Platt would let us, let kids pick teams or whatever. Now I'm gone, so I'm not going to pick teams. But everyone in their first two picks picked Ryan Ripke to be. Now, this is a small college, right? So your open gyms 3 nights a week are the highlight of your life because we can't do anything else except eat.
Mm-hmm.
And he was one of the first 3 kids picked because he was going to play hard and play to win and flat out get after it.
Derek Sheridan from Rust Belt Basketball Coaches Network and the Basketball Nexus website. We would certainly appreciate it if you would consider hitting the like, share, comment, and subscribe buttons on our social media postings. That helps us push our Small Coaches Network up that social media algorithm, which allows us to not only grow, but also continue to provide these free podcasts for basketball coaching junkies.
And that's the highest compliment I could give anybody. It wasn't, there might be someone who was able to shoot the ball better than Ryan or someone who was able to do other things better than Ryan, but those kids did not get picked over Ryan because he got in there and played. And I mean, by play, if you think you're going to cross the midline unimpeded, it ain't happening. There's going to be a little friction there.
That's the way it should be. That's the way it
Absolutely
should
what
be.
my high school coach called sparks. There's
Yeah,
going to be a
and
few
you
sparks.
and you talked about that. You talked about that GLIAC, and yeah, that's the way I love watching the game be played.
Oh, my first practice up there, I thought I was going to be, I thought I was going to make a statement, kind of like in the movie Bull Durham, Epi Calvin LaLouche. I'm going to announce my presence with authority. And so I wheeled around and I was going to front the post. The kid, I was a 2 guard in junior college, and the person I was guarding got down, Timmy Morzetti from Detroit, Michigan. So he gets down the block. I thought, I want to front this guy. The next thing I knew, I was on the operating table for spinal surgery. Trying to front the post in that area is not a smart thing. They're going to root you up and discombobulate your body. It's not a good move. It's not because, you get up there in that part of the UP and those people are big. and they're strong. And I think there's a lot to be said for Dick Bennett coming up with the pack line.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so is there anything else you guys want to add about what you've seen this year?
Well, just as we get wind down here to the Final Four, I mean, it's just an exciting time, and and as we watched tournament high school basketball, whole communities showing up for that tournament game, and
Oh,
the
Kalida.
excitement.
Oh,
Yeah,
how good was Kalida this year? My gosh, how good were and the Grimm kid?
Yeah,
How good is he?
Yeah.
He's spectacular. Going back to what you said, Wayno, about the whole community coming, it was good to see Perkins back on the map.
Yes, sir.
And you know who Perkins' coach played for? He's a
Not
Jackson
sure.
Center boy.
Oh, okay.
So you know he was trained the right way.
Yes, sir.
Who was Perkins's coach?
Andy Hoying. But he
Yeah,
was a
mine
stud
too.
player at Jackson Center. Then he went and played at Mercyhurst.
Yeah, I know
He
who you're
played for
talking
Coach
about.
Elkert.
Yeah, I can't think of it either.
Yeah,
It's
Coach
not the guy
Elkert.
it's not the guy that coached girls at Margaretta for a few years, is it?
I don't think so.
No, Tim Tucker, is that who you're thinking of?
No, I'm thinking
Ryan?
Eric Kokendorfer.
Oh,
Nope.
okay.
Well, Coach Wayne, I'm guessing you'd probably seen Kalida play a few times this year, right?
Yes, sir.
I mean, they're young, right? So they're going to be
Yeah,
probably
they're
better next year.
yeah, they're gonna be right back in the mix, and their schedule, they lost. I think they started like, I don't know, 3-6 or something like that. But they're playing LCC, Wapak, Lima Shawnee. I mean, their schedule prepared them for everything that they were going to see throughout the tournament.
Yeah.
PH.
Yeah, PH, so on and so forth. I
Well,
mean,
Delphus, they
Yeah.
played Delphus right out of the gates.
Yep.
And
Yeah,
if they have the same schedule next year, I mean, they're going to be that much better. But are they going to get that many more wins? With a schedule
it'll
like
be
that?
it'll be tough.
we had a media pass for those games at BGSU, and one of the Pettisville people said, what do you expect? I said, well, I expect that there's going to be a shock factor early where the Pettisville kids, outside of maybe playing Edon, have not been chucked on a cut the way they're going to get chucked today. And they kind of smiled. I said, let me put it to you this way. On the first baseline out of bounds play, if there's a kid from Pettisville who's going to try to go from one side of the midline to the other, he ain't getting there.
Yeah. Yep.
He's not going to get there. It just isn't going to happen. They're going to get racked up, and that's the way you coached, Paul. When we played you, we had to change some of our baseline out of bounds plays because our kids were not going to be able to transverse the midline.
Yeah, we wanted to destroy the timing of all 5 seconds baseline out of bounds. We wanted to destroy the timing of it.
Yeah, well, it's just your kids were in a stance and they were going to lock you up. So we would put everybody on one side of the floor and just take that away.
Successfully, by the way.
No, I don't know about that. But guys, I do want to say before we cut off here, if Ryan Pedon does advance to that championship game, give me a text. I'll send you a cell number so we can give him a plug. He's just one of those rare big timers who still has a big passion for the high school guys. And
Yeah, please do, because he was very down to earth when he was at Columbus, as the top assistant there. He was very down to earth and very outgoing towards us, promoting the game of basketball at any level.
Yeah, I'm sure you guys have heard about the airplane test. Ryan's one of those guys who passes the airplane test. You get on an airplane and Ryan Pedon sits next to you. And by the time you get off the plane, Ryan Pedon knows everything about you, but you have no idea that Ryan Pedon's the head coach of Illinois State.
Yeah, that's good stuff there. That's really.
And I think I told all three of you this. My wife and I got married, and one of our wedding presents was front row seats at Assembly Hall for Coach Knight's old preseason tournament. So they would have usually teams from out west, Utah State, whoever. So we got front row seats. And I mean, I'm the freshman coach at Oak Hill High School. And I think that I am King Kong. I'm teaching PE classes. I'm the freaking freshman coach, and I'm just jacked. So we're sitting in the front row of the Southside basket, and I've got everything I have on says Oak Hill. I mean, I've got my track suit on. I've got my Oak Hill hat from the golf tournament. It's just, I want to make sure everybody knows that I coach basketball at Oak Hill. And, I'm 24 years old, whatever. So we're sitting there, and the gentleman sitting next to me starts asking me, he goes, Oak Hill High School. I said, yeah, here in Indiana. I'm the freshman coach. And I start talking about Coach Cirque, who now is my Santa Claus. He's the guy who hired me, and so I just inundate this guy on Oak Hill High School basketball history and whatever, and he's listening and finally he gets up and he goes, okay, hey, great meeting you. I got to go, but great meeting you. And 20 minutes later, the tracksuit he was wearing is off, and he comes out. He's the head coach of the team Coach Knight's getting ready to play.
No, my.
And he never said a freaking word because I didn't let him talk.
You were living large.
Oh my gosh. And then I found out all you have to be a freshman coach is eyesight. But my point is that guy passed the airplane test hard.
Yes, sir.
All right, guys. Thanks for joining us.
Always a pleasure. And always, I never know what I'm talking about, but it doesn't stop me from talking. So,
and see, that's what Einstein used to say too, and no one believed him.
Yeah, you can believe it in mine. I don't know about Einstein though.
Well, who does? Not me.
I just get on because I never know what Derek's going to say, and I want to find out. So
I've never heard that before in my life. That's a first.
Thanks for having us.